Okay, so picture this. Your car breaks down. Not a huge deal, right? You've got your emergency fund, $1,000 sitting there untouched like a little financial security blanket. You feel good. You feel responsible. You feel like you did the adult thing. Then the mechanic calls. $1,200, timing belt, water pump, labor. And just like that, your entire emergency fund is gone, plus your $200 in the hole. And guess where that $200 is going? Straight onto a credit card at 24% interest. Here's the thing. You didn't do anything wrong. You followed the advice. You did exactly what every finance blog, every budgeting app, every well-meaning uncle told you to do. Save $1,000 for emergencies. And it still wasn't enough. Not even close. And look, I need you to sit with that for a second because this is where most people quietly blame themselves. They think, I must have messed up somewhere. I must not be disciplined enough. No, you didn't mess up. The advice is broken. The $1,000 emergency fund is one of the most repeated, most trusted, and most outdated pieces of financial advice still floating around in 2026, and honestly, it might be quietly keeping you poor. So let's actually talk about where this number even came from, because it's not what you think. The $1,000 emergency fund rule got popularized by personal finance guys back in the 90s and early 2000s, and at the time, honestly, it wasn't a terrible starting point. Gas was under $1.50 a gallon. The average rent in America was around $400 a month. A car repair that cost $1,200 today might have cost you $300 or $400 back then. The math actually worked, but nobody updated the number. For almost 30 years, this advice has been recycled, repeated, printed in books, quoted on podcasts, taught in personal finance classes, and it never adjusted for inflation. It's like using a paper map from 1998 to drive through a city that's been completely rebuilt. The roads don't exist anymore, but everybody's still following the same directions, and here's a stat that should honestly stop you in your tracks. According to the Federal Reserve's own report on the economic well-being of U.S. households, roughly 2 in 5 American adults say they couldn't cover an unexpected $400 expense using cash or its equivalent without borrowing money or selling something. $400, not 4,000, 400. That's how thin the margin is for a huge chunk of this country. So when someone tells you, just save $1,000 and you'll be fine, what they're actually doing, even if they don't realize it, is setting you up to fail the moment life throws something real at you. Let me show you what I mean with actual numbers, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. The average cost of an unplanned car repair right now sits somewhere between $500 and $2,500, depending on what breaks. A trip to the ER, even with decent insurance, can easily blow past $1,000 just in the deductible alone. A furnace dying in the middle of winter? $3,000 to $6,000 to replace. Losing your job. The average job search now takes somewhere around 5 months. 5 months, not 5 weeks. 5 months of rent, groceries, insurance, car payments, all while your income has dropped to zero or close to it. You see the problem now? $1,000 doesn't even cover one of these situations, let alone protect you if 2 of them stack on top of each other. Which, let's be honest, is exactly how bad luck actually works. It's never just the car. It's the car, and then 2 weeks later you get laid off, and then your kid needs a filling at the dentist. Life doesn't send emergencies one at a time with a nice gap in between so you can recover. It piles on. So here's the metaphor I want you to actually hold on to, because I think it explains why this $1,000 number feels so deceptively safe. Think of your emergency fund like the seatbelt in your car. A seatbelt is designed to protect you at a certain speed, in a certain type of collision. It's genuinely useful. But if you're going 70 miles an hour and you hit a wall, a seatbelt alone isn't going to save you. You need airbags. You need crumple zones. You need the whole system working together. $1,000 is your seatbelt. It'll help with the small stuff, a flat tire, a broken phone screen, but it was never built to survive a real collision, a job loss, a medical emergency, a major repair, and too many people are driving through life at full speed thinking their seatbelt is enough to survive anything. Now, here's where I want to challenge something, because I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, so what? I'm just supposed to save 6 months of expenses before I even start? That'll take me years. And that reaction, that feeling of this is impossible, so why even try, that right there is actually the real trap. Not the $1,000 number itself, but the psychology around it. See, the reason the $1,000 rule became so popular in the first place is because it feels achievable. It's a nice round number. It doesn't overwhelm you. And that's actually smart psychology. Getting people to start saving it all is half the battle. The problem isn't that $1,000 is a bad starting line. The problem is that it got marketed as the finish line. People hit $1,000, they feel done, they stop, and they never revisit the number again. So let's actually fix that, because this is where the psychology first approach matters way more than the math. The real target you want to be building toward isn't a flat number, it's a multiple of your monthly expenses. Most financial planners now recommend somewhere between 3 and 6 months of essential expenses: rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, minimum debt payments, sitting in a liquid, easy-to-access account. If you're in a more unstable job, freelance, commission-based, contract work, you actually want to lean closer to 6, even 9 months. If you've got a stable government job or something close to recession-proof, 3 months might genuinely be enough. Let's make this real with actual numbers. Say your essential monthly expenses come out to $2,800, rent, food, insurance, gas, the basics. A $1,000 emergency fund covers less than 2 weeks of your life falling apart. 2 weeks. But 3 months of expenses would mean a target of around $8,400. 6 months puts you closer to $17,000. I know. That number probably just made your stomach drop a little. It made mine drop the first time I actually sat down and calculated it for myself, too. But stick with me, because the way you get there matters way more than the scary total. Here's the actual strategy, step by step, and I want you to actually take this seriously instead of just nodding along. Step 1. Calculate your real number, not your income, your essential expenses. The stuff that keeps the lights on and food on the table if your income disappeared tomorrow: rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, minimum debt payments, transportation, not your Netflix subscription, not your gym membership, the actual bare-bones survival number. Step 2. Build in tiers, not one giant goal. Tier 1 is $1,000, your starter fund, your seatbelt. This gets you through the small stuff, flat tires, minor repairs, so you're not immediately reaching for a credit card. Tier 2 is 1 month of expenses. This is your buffer zone. Tier 3 is 3 to 6 months, your actual safety net. Breaking it into tiers matters because psychologically, hitting smaller targets keeps you motivated. Trying to save $17,000 in one giant leap feels impossible, and impossible goals get abandoned. But hitting 1,000, then a month, then 3 months, that's a series of wins your brain can actually track and get excited about. Step 3, and this one gets skipped constantly: put this money somewhere it can actually work a little for you while staying liquid. A high-yield savings account right now can pay you somewhere around 4 to 5% annually, compared to basically nothing in a regular checking account. That's not going to make you rich, but on a $10,000 emergency fund, that's an extra few $100s a year, essentially free money, just for putting your cash somewhere smarter. The key word there is liquid. This money needs to be accessible within a day or two, not locked into some investment account where you'd have to sell stocks in a panic during a crisis. Step 4. Automate it before you can talk yourself out of it. Set up an automatic transfer the day after your paycheck hits, even if it's just $50 or $100. Here's why this matters more than people realize. Willpower is unreliable. It's strong on Monday morning and completely gone by Friday night. But an automated transfer doesn't negotiate with you. It doesn't care that you're tired or that a sale popped up. It just happens. Now let's talk about the mistake I see constantly, the one that actually breaks people's progress the most. People build up their emergency fund, and then the second something non-emergency comes up, a vacation, a new phone, a really good deal on something, they raid it. And look, I get it. That money sitting there feels like it's just waiting to be used. But here's the mental shift that changes everything. Your emergency fund isn't your money in the way your regular savings is your money. Think of it more like a fire extinguisher bolted to the wall. You don't grab the fire extinguisher because you're craving barbecue. You leave it exactly where it is, specifically because you don't know when you'll actually need it. And when you do need it, you need it to be full, not half used because you sprayed some of it around for fun 3 months ago. One more thing that genuinely surprises people: where you keep this money matters just as much as how much you save. A lot of people keep their emergency fund sitting in the same checking account as their everyday spending money. That's a mistake because when it's that accessible, that visible every single day, it stops feeling like an emergency fund and starts feeling like extra spending money. Separate it. Different bank if you have to. Make it just annoying enough to access that you have to actually stop and think, is this really an emergency, before you touch it? So here's where I want to leave you, because I don't want this to just be another video that scares you and then leaves you sitting there feeling worse than when you started. The point isn't that $1,000 is worthless. It's a real starting point. And if that's all you've got right now, that's genuinely fine. That's more than a huge percentage of adults in this country currently have sitting in reserve. But the point is, don't stop there. Don't let a number that made sense 30 years ago convince you that you're financially safe today. The world got more expensive. Your safety net needs to grow with it. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: go calculate your actual essential monthly expenses this week. Not someday, this week. Then figure out which tier you're actually sitting in right now. Because the gap between "I have an emergency fund" and "I have an emergency fund big enough to actually survive an emergency" is the single most overlooked gap in personal finance, and closing it is genuinely one of the most powerful things you can do for your future self. You don't need to have $17,000 saved by next month. Nobody's asking for that. What you need is to actually know your number and to start moving toward it on purpose, instead of accidentally believing a myth that's been recycled for 30 years without anyone bothering to check if it still holds up. Build the real net, not the illusion of one.